All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to MLS Monday. We've got straight up 11 o'clock. Thanks for joining us. So we can dive right into our topic today, which is CMA Tools. Obviously, more than ever, with the market the way it is today, pricing is important. And you're not doing a seller any justice if they need to move by listing a property grossly overpriced. You're not going to get the action there. You're not going to get the showings you want. So we're going to take some time today and talk about these products that we do offer. And I will start by letting everybody know the best way to do a CMA. And I say the best way because you want to be able to compare your subject property to other very similar subject properties. And in my opinion, the least amount of adjustments that you need to make on the CMA, the better off you are. The more you get into adjustments, people have different opinions of value of a garage space, a half a bath, what's my new kitchen worth? You want to kind of have the comps that support your pricing, not inflate your pricing, not deflate your pricing, but supports it based on similar, same type properties. I always used to teach a lot out there on GRI and things like that. We always talk about apples. If you're using a Red Delicious apple as your subject property, you want to look for as many Red Delicious apples as you can. You don't want Honeycrisp or Macintosh Reds or Empire apples or green apples.
An apple's not an apple?
Right. There's different apples. You want all the same type of apples. And the way you get that is by going through Matrix and going through the actual MLS, because it allows you a lot more ability to sort and filter and get more granular with the actual subject property. So with that, if you have any questions, by the way, today, you're going to want to put it into the Q&A on the bottom there. If you raise your hand, there's nothing we can do, but put it in the Q&A at the bottom and we'll get to your questions. But with that, let's go to the MLS and share our screen. So as you get your subject property and you pull that up, we got a property here. This is our subject.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a property we picked out that sold a couple years ago. Actually sold on 5/20/24, so a year and a couple months ago. But we picked up property already sold, so we're gonna look at comps that sold. And a lot of questions come to how far back do I go? Well, again, if you look at the subject property as being the center of the bullseye, you want to have your comparables be as close to that bullseye as you can. So, most recent sales versus something a year ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you would take preference over something that sold in the last 60 days versus something that took over a year ago. Same thing with square footage, that type of stuff. So you want to get as close to that subject property as you can as we did this. So this is a property we pulled here. So let's take a look at the property and pull up some pictures real quick to give everybody an idea of what we're looking at. So this is a home in Cape Coral on Southeast 18th. This is waterfront. So one of the biggest questions we get in live classes and online is, I've got a waterfront property. What are the best ways to determine, that value of that home, right?
Yeah. This one is also, because it's a big difference, right? It's not just waterfront, it's golf access.
Right. So that goes back to the apples. So you have a golf access property. You want to use other golf access properties. So as you look at sale dates, the closest sale date you have to that subject property, and I always go back 60 days max to start with, as well as look at the location. You don't want something that, this is golf access too, but it's on the river, 4 miles away. That's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're talking about golf access, there's multiple types of golf access, right?
Yeah.
How quick am I out to the main body of water? Because that makes, there's direct access there. So it's in the comments. So we want to make sure that our subject properties that we're comparing this to has similar direct access. So again, we just highlighted no bridges, water direct. Again, you don't want something that's got to go through 3 or 4 bridges. You don't want something that's go through a lock. If your property does not have that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if your property is behind a lock or if it's behind 3 bridges, you want similar properties to have that same thing because value can change the closer you get to the Kusatchee River,
Mm-hmm.
right?
So let's talk about concept wise, right? Like you're analyzing this property, you know what the big points are, what's going to make the price differences. But where do we start? So you've talked about like the hyper local data piece of it. It's got golf access, there's no bridges. So from a technology standpoint, right? Like we're going to dig into the different tools like RPR and Remind, but the call we get the most is, well, I go out to RPR. It's a national tool. They don't have filters like golf access. They don't have canal widths, like these different things that we think are so important here. They don't have those filters. So can you talk a little bit about where you start from research to where you pull your comparables and then plugging them into the tools?
Yep, so I start right in Matrix. So when I was doing CMAs, I start right in Matrix. I know my subject property, right? So we've got this location is Southeast 18th Street, CC 13's geocode. And you can start out by doing a simple search. So you can either do open a new screen up or whatever, but let's go through a search here and do a residential search, a new tab. So we know where the property's at. So you want to do probably, I would do within a mile again, and you can get as granular as you want. So we'll start with a mile. And again, you can adjust this. I mean, this is just, again, best practices. But again, we're trying to get the subject property to match our comps as close as possible, right? Because adjustments is where people have differences of opinion when it comes to value.
Yeah. So automatically your search is going to start with active. I've deselected that. We've chose that we want to look at anything that's closed. Automatically it's got 120 days. Is that what you start with?
Well, you can start with 120 days because you can filter it by close date, right?
Yeah.
And
you can see that pulls up a lot of matches.
Yep. Yep, exactly. So we've got the address within 1 mile. This is a resale. It's not a short sale foreclosure, right? But it is a single family. So we'd want to go with single family. That's gonna take you from 79 down to 78, right?
That many.
And then waterfront, yes, it's waterfront. And it's golf access, yes. So that took you down now to 49 properties, okay?
So let's go back to the subject. What's the next thing you're filtering for? Do you go for square footage? Do you go for year?
Yeah, I do both again, right? Because properties, I know a new construction may be worth less or more than something that's built in 1967, like this property. So
what are we putting in for years?
So I like to do a range of, and I know it's kind of weird, but a range of 20 years. Okay, so 1967 will be in the middle. So 1947.
It's 1987.
Well, I would do 57. So 10 years before, 10 years after.
Okay.
Yep. So, yeah. So I would use that. Garage spaces is the next thing I'm going to try to look at. So what's our subject property at for garages? So we got,
the screen is so far away.
I know it is.
We need better glasses. Okay, here we go. Garage space is 1.
So it's a 1-car garage. So ideally, you're down to 20 now on the bottom left-hand corner. Let's put 1 garage in, right? We're down to 9.
Yeah.
So if I'm down to 9, that's a pretty good thing. Now you can also, you brought up, let's look at living space. Baths and beds are important as well. So let's go look at our beds and baths.
And, right now we're just looking at closed. Do you take in the pendings? I
do. I look at pendings.
We'll add those in.
Active. Yep. And ideally, in some cases, you want to see what's expired. Because an expired listing could come back on to be your competition. So I like to see what the expired is. If something expired out and I'm listing a property, let's say on the street here, that may come up as my competition, right? So still with all that you added back in, you're still only at 10. And you've done your beds and baths, right? So it's a 3-2. So you're going to hit our results. Now this is granular. These filters are waterfront. This filter with your built garage spaces, you're not going to necessarily have with RPR or Remind or these other, but you can load the actual listing numbers into those tools to give you that pretty report that you want.
Right.
But picking your actual granule here. So we've got several that are sold here. So let's pull those up individually. And we'll start with that first sold. Yep. So when I go through and I look at what my subject is now, sometimes you will have the ability to go look at an old photo of the house that was listed if you're relisting a house that was sold. Sometimes you won't. Okay.
Yeah.
also knowing where your house is at on a map compared to where the Gulf axis is too will give you some ideas. So you can kind of compare that map. So we're looking at a kitchen that was kind of upgraded.
Yeah.
On there.
Smaller.
Yeah, smaller kitchen. Right. So, but that's, again, looking at also, so that's good out. You're right down the canal and shot right out there, which is great. And this is why it's important as realtors for us to not strip listings of pictures, right? Which we're gonna have a feature we'll speak about at the end here, that will help you with that. But having pictures, more than just 2 or 3, right? This helps other professionals, including our appraiser partners out there as well. So I look at the houses, I've seen enough of this one. We're looking at square footage here. We know this was built in 1967, so very close to the same year built.
Yeah, square footage.
Yeah, I got
17 and 17. Ours
18.
is 15 and 18.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
would you use this one?
I would use this comp, yeah.
All right, so then we'll keep her.
All right, go to the next one. So you're gonna look at this as 1297, 1606. Again, it was built in 1966, so kind of the same year frame. A little bit different of a layout, picture wise.
Now, it's interesting that we didn't talk about, right, is the pool. So
Right.
the last one had a pool. This one doesn't have a pool. We didn't put that into the filter.
Yeah, ideally, I'd put that in the filter to start with, because this is where depends on what kind of pool you got. Is it a hole in the ground with concrete and water, or is it infinity edge? And
Oh, this one's got like a little hot tub setup.
it's got a hot tub. Also looks portable. Could take it with them. Don't know if it conveys, right? So there's that, and don't get hung up on the small stuff. I see a lot of realtors get hung up on small stuff. You just saw a fishing deal there to clean fish and stuff.
Yeah.
That may have value to Joanna because she fishes. To me, it has no value at all. I don't fish. So you can't really put a number to that. Your mortgage broker and appraisal is not going to put a number to it. So don't get caught up in small stuff. But yeah, so pool, I would not use this. It's got no pool. Again, I want to stay with the Macintosh Apple I've got. Now, decks and docks, that does have value, right? It does. So this is another house. Looking at the pictures here, it's a ranch style. Looks a little bit more updated inside, maybe. Stainless steel appliances. It's got a hood range. So decent stuff there.
No pool.
And again, it's got no pool, so I wouldn't use this comp. Because again, I can spend 30,000 on a pool today, or I can spend 130,000 on a pool today.
Yeah.
So what's the value? So we should have did the pool thing. It probably got us down to about 4 or 5 comps.
This one's nice. Updated. Bathroom, maybe not. I don't think we see a pool. Oh,
Nope.
nice little.
Nice
city
area
valley.
outside with no pool. This one's got a pool. I see a cage.
Yeah.
And again, this is a similar out to our other comp that we saved, right?
Yeah.
So it's around the bend and out the canal to the river. Very similar to our subject property. Layout and everything. So yes, this is a good comp.
66, 12 and 16. So they're close.
They're very close.
Keep her.
Yep.
And then this one's an expired.
Okay. So this may come back on the markets. I still want to see what it is. 1728 and 2095. So it's much bigger.
Man special.
Good out. So if this, so for whatever reason it expired, maybe it's price, but this may be my competition in the future. And you guys start thinking like that, especially when houses are staying in the market for, 120, 180 days.
But no pool, and it's a handyman special.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I wouldn't worry about that. That's not gonna be competition. Here's another house. That's a good out. Yeah, very good out.
Looks like it's got a pool.
And this is,
Very similar.
it does.
Here's the pool in the back there. Nice kitchen.
Yeah.
All right, so we're using her.
Yeah, so let's X out of that. It's not a sold comp. Let's look at this. This was at 550. How long was it on the market for?
So it's 550 in comparison to our other ones that have sold.
Well, yeah. the
Days
sold
on
pri-
market are 196.
So, and my opinion, it probably was probably a little too high.
Mhm,
Because you have the highest comp that sold was at 456.
mhm.
And that's one that we are using. It was listed at 499. So, probably a little higher. If that came back on the market, it may or may not sell. It's also a different geocode.
Yeah,
So CC12, I wouldn't be too
it's in
concerned
a
about
community. Well, Placo Grande's doesn't have a CEO or
HOA.
HOA.
Doesn't have a CEO. Somebody's a vacation. All right, let's look at our pending contingent and our pending. So this is kind of cool because we don't know what the sale price is,
Mhm.
but we do know
know
it went
that
pending.
Yeah, we know that it's generating movement.
Yeah, you got a contract on it. So you look at the pictures, it's got a pool in back, I believe I saw.
Mhm. It does.
The kitchen's
Updated.
updated, more updated.
Good amount.
Yeah,
There's
nice
the
pool. Yeah, it's a quarter lot, so you may not have a dock. But again, this was listed at 399.9.
Mhm.
How many days of market?
67.
67, days of market. So again, it was priced to go, it has some contingencies, so I keep it. It's probably a good comp to use. This one looks like it's got a pool.
Yeah. Yep.
It's also looks like it's a tip lot as well, with some nice, interesting boats in front. That yacht was kind of cool.
Boy.
So kind of a cool little setup there, little captain's walk.
I got the easy out as well here.
Yeah, easy. I would use that too. What did it sell for? Yeah, I think it's right on the corner of the comp we had.
$599.
599 was list price, so it's something to take in consideration. Again, the
A lot
other thing with
bigger square footage though.
a lot bigger, so you have to adjust down for that if you use it for a comp.
Mhm.
I like to use some of these pending contingents and pendings and expires to talk to the seller. So the conversation is, here's what we know is on the market today. Here's the actives in your area, right? So we already pulled those up. That's your competition, right? But if the pending contingent falls apart, it goes back on the market as an active. That could be your competition tomorrow. If the expired listing, that seller decides to go ahead and list again, that's also going to be a competitor.
Yeah.
And competitors are important because if you oversaturate an area with listings, and we have a lot of conversation around numbers and stats right now. We've been in the newspaper and Wall Street Journal, and we did a rebuttal to that. If you flood an area, and I look at Gateway because I used to live there. When I put my house on the market, originally there was only 2 other houses on the market, and I was only 2-story house. But we had 2 pending contingents fall through and 2 expires that went back on. Now I've got 4 other competitors.
Mhm.
And it was all within a 2-block radius. Well, I mean, craziness because they had to pick of the litter. It's definitely a buyer's market in that neighborhood, right?
Mhm.
It may not be a buyer's market in that marketplace as a whole, or that zip code or that geocode, but on those streets, they got the pick of the litter. So it's something to at least bring that to the table to your sellers. They're going to want to know how much you know about the marketplace because they're looking at the portals and they're going to have those rebuttals for you as well as, why did this house go pending so fast or why did this house go back in the market. You need to know up front that could be a competitor down the road.
Yeah. So this last pending one, also another direct sailboat access pool in the back. So we'll add that to the list as well.
Yeah.
So now you've got a total of 3 pending and 2 sold that you're using for your comparables.
Yeah. And so my two solds, are gonna be the 2 main ones you're gonna go off of. We've already said, price per, the price per square foot's in range. Based on the solds, the sizes are comparable,
Mhm.
and I say comparable under 100 square feet. That's not much. That's a 10 by 10 room, right? It's not much. And if it's the same bedrooms and baths, it's the same.
Mhm.
But what I want to bring people's attention to is the days on market. The days on market for the 2 that went sold is 30 and 42, right? You've got other ones out there that sold that took much longer. And I would guarantee if you went and looked at history, you'd see a bunch of price reductions, right? They're testing the price and bringing those down.
Yeah.
Yeah, price decrease, price decrease. Yeah, 2 price decreases, an extension on the actual listing. So again, we're not picking anybody, but the market, if it stays there longer, it's a good comparable. At some price, it's going to sell on it. So I've got my 2 solds. Ideally, I like 3 or 4 solds, but I'm not going to push the issue. You could, in this case, you've got 2 that sold that have no pools, and you
Yeah.
can add your pools to do your adjustments,
Mhm.
and you're welcome to do that. I would contact an appraiser and find out what they're giving a pool, or look at something in your office, talk to your broker and say, hey, listen, what are they giving for a pool allowance on an actual appraisal? And use that dollar amount as they have a general idea, and use that dollar amount for your comp. So again, you would be able to adjust that to your subject property.
So before we hop into we've got the properties here, we're ready to move forward. Let's talk to the realtor that maybe one doesn't have a previous listing to go off of, look at, there's no photos, or two, knows nothing about the property. They're trying to figure out the details of that property so they can run a full CMA. Do you prefer using LIPA?
Yeah,
Okay.
REPA's a good tool. You'll be able to pull the actual property up in there. You'll be able to get a picture of what it looks like. It's going to tell you if they have a pool in it, right?
Let's pull this address.
It'll give you a lot of information on that house.
So again, this is leepa.org, LEEPA.org. This is for Lee County. If you're doing a different county, go to that county's property appraiser site. Most of them work very similar. Some of us like other counties more than others. But in here, this will pull up that record, and you want to go to parcel details. There's other buttons in there that you could click. You can look at the aerial viewer and other things. This is a little disclosure about the information that you can continue on into the site. But scrolling in through here, you're going to find a lot of the information that you need. This is also going to be helpful when you hopefully win that listing and go to put it into the MLS. So your square footage, your year built, properties, things like that. But they've got down here the layout for the property if you're trying to figure any of that out. When the roof was, I know we've heard a lot of people talking about trying to figure out, comparables for roofs. But the button that most people miss is right here. So a lot of us will open up this tab for the property details and get that here. But if you click into this little icon right here, it actually opens up the appraiser sheet for that property. And this gives you really a lot of data on the property. It's going to give you the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the square footage. You've got the layout. It'll tell you flooring. It'll tell you siding, AC types, all these details. And it may be important to your CMA and it may not, but everything that you need is going to be here. So, it shows the patio, the pool, the jacuzzi, the dock, irrigation system, all of those really small details. So if you have a property that's, really broad and you're pulling up 50 or so different comparables, getting into this granular detail is going to help you narrow it down to the exact property that's going to match your, what do you call the apple?
Red Delicious.
Red
The Red
Delicious.
Delicious apple is my favorite apple. So yeah, no, and that's great. Go back to that real quick.
Yep.
This is great. I've seen this actually by a couple agents that actually, when they get the listing, they use this to input it. Because a lot of the questions are, what's the kind of flooring and what kind of,
Yeah, interior wall,
yeah, heating
interior
fuel and
floor.
types. And this is a great document. I've seen people PDF this and attach it to the actual listing,
Yeah.
right? So you got all this information on it. This is a good thing to bring into your actual listing appointment, to have it at your fingertips. A lot of people are gonna know when they put the roof on, right? And was it actually permitted? And they could argue with you. Roof was put on 2 years ago. No, it was put on 12 years ago. Oh yeah, my Uncle Ben put the roof on 2 years ago. No permit on it, right? So this is a great document to use and for input to make sure you're giving the best representation of that actual home to the general public. Because once it's out there in the portals, again, and I'll tell you a quick buy story product or story real quick, as a byproduct of this forum. I had a call last week when I was out, and it was a good friend of mine, and they were looking to list a property that their mother had, in Naples, Florida. And so that's not that far from us, right? So they wanted to know, a good way for them to go about finding a good agent in this area. And they wanted somebody that knew the community very well because there hasn't been any movement. And they already knew there wasn't any sales in the last 6 months in this condo development, but they wanted like the expert of that area on it. And one of the things that they started doing was going through the listings. And I told them, I said, well, have you looked at what has been listed, what's been sold, whatever? And they had, and I said, well, who's got the best representation online? Because that's what you're going to get, right? When you get that realtor, you're gonna get that representation. It's almost like ordering food off a menu, right? You look at the picture, you're hoping it matches the picture that comes on the plate, right? And I said, it's always sometimes you can tell in a restaurant what to order. So the same way people are shopping online for realtors, he's like, well, I'm going to give you two names. What do you think? And I didn't know either one of the people, but I'm like, if that's who you think online, based on what you see on Zillow and Homes.com, is going to be because well, they got the best description, they got the best photos, they got drones, they got all this other stuff. Yeah, I think that these are the two best, and that's what you want to call them, right?
Yeah.
That's how people are shopping today.
So we got a question in the chat. It says, can you please show us again where in LIPA we opened this document? Yes, I can. All right, so when you do your property data search, which is this button right here, right? We come here, we searched for the property, it pulled up this. We went into parcel details. So parcel details is really the summary of the property. This is like the 360 foot view. This breaks down the basics of that property, but the appraiser sheet is hidden in this little button right here. It's not the tab, it's not the name, it is literally it looks like a bingo sheet to me. I have no other way to refer.
It does look like a bingo sheet.
But you click this little icon here and it will open up this detailed site for you there. So hopefully that helps you find it. It is a button within a button within a button.
Yeah, this is fire. This is having this information at your fingertips.
Yeah.
I'll just say as a side plug too. I mean, we have compliance meetings all the time here. One of the things we taught is the fact that we have really good data, right? Good data to our rules, which may be different than Stellar, maybe different than Naples, but there are rules for our members. And that process has gone through a committee. It's gone through board of directors, and we like to adopt rules that make sense for both the members, the subscribers, as well as the consumer. And having good data is important. So last thing you want to do, lesson to be taught, is take the previous listing and copy the information that they had
No, please
on the new listing, because you don't know where they got that information from.
Yeah, and how outdated is the information? We hear it all the time. We call people, we're like, hey, this is wrong, or it's gotten them into a legal issue, right? They're past closing, the information's bad, and now the new owners are coming back to sue, and they say, well, the previous agent put X, Y, and Z. Well, the previous agent isn't the one legally liable. Right. So yep. do not, we open up that previous listing for a point of reference. We look at it, but verify everything through LIPA, verify everything through that seller, get them to sign off on it before you make it active. Don't trust that process. So now that we've gotten here, we've gone through the process, we've picked out the right properties. We want to talk to you guys about the different tools that are going to create those packets for you. We've got a lot of different things here in your MLS department that provide CMA tools for you. First and foremost being right here inside of Matrix, there are CMA buttons down there at the bottom that we'll walk through really quick. But the biggest CMA package that you could create is within RPR. So we're going to walk through the whole process with you guys inside of RPR because they give you a very detailed package. You can choose whether you're going to have 15 pages or 85 pages. It depends on, that personality that you're presenting to. And then there is also a CMA option inside of Remine. So you have 3 different tools, 2 inside of Matrix, 1 inside of RPR, and 1 inside of Remine. So in here, once you have your properties selected, your 2 options inside of Matrix are your CMA and your quick CMA. So your quick CMA, and clicking this, is literally just going to open up a PDF. It's taking all the properties that you've selected and plugging it into this really basic kind of like data chart. To me, it looks like something straight out of statistics course. But if you're on the go and somebody's like, hey, I just want to know real quick, or maybe they're like a past client, they just need numbers for an insurance run anything like that, you can use this. There's no editing features. There's nothing. It just runs a quick 2-pager PDF for you, which is great if you're on the go and you just need something simple, right?
And I've also seen agents use that quick CMA
Mhm.
to keep in contact with their customers. So,
Like
they
on
want to
the
know what's
15th.
happening. Yeah, and they do it yearly and they sit there,
The house anniversary.
yeah, happy
Here's your
house anniversary.
CMA.
Here's what's happening in your market. If this was just under property, here's what your house will be worth, because it's going to give a value
Yeah.
on there to them. It's easy. It's 2 pages. Doesn't take up a lot of ink. You put it in an envelope.
Yeah.
And send it. It's going to give them kind of an idea of what's happening in their marketplace. This is great for marketing.
Yeah.
And you can change the picture up on top,
Yeah. This is
customizable on it, and it'll tell them as of a listing date. And I've seen people pick up a lot of repeat customers that bought. They said that average is 7 times, or every 7 years somebody moves. I think in Florida it's a lot less. I think it's closer to 5.
Yeah.
But this is a great way to keep in contact with your customer too.
Yeah. So what it's doing is it's just pulling in the ones that you've selected, not all of the ones here, just the ones that you've selected. It breaks it down. Here's what you're looking at for pending. Here's what you're looking at for sold. And then here's the overall idea. If you had anything else in here like terminated, expired, it would break it down by those different categories for you, gives you a quick synopsis, right? But if you wanted to edit things, you wanted to create an entire package, there is this CMA button here at the bottom, which will pull in the listings that you selected. And you would go through these different tabs. So you would select a contact name. If you don't already have them in Matrix, you would go ahead and create that and write out a description. It'll walk you through pages. So it's got different forms that you can add, things like curb appeal or how to sell your home, any kind of fluff like that, you can add it in here. But then you can edit through your subjects, your cover. There's all kinds of different stuff. It'll show you what the map is. You can make adjustments on those properties. It'll show you the end pricing, what that looks like. And then you can save it right here inside of Matrix. Again, we're not going to go through every single one of these with you because we will be doing this inside of RPR. But if you wanted to stay inside of Matrix, you do have that option. It is a very basic package. It's probably, I would say like 20 pages, like 10 to 20 pages, depending on how many comparables you have.
Right.
But it will give you a good package that you can bring in, you can present on. We're just going to go inside of RPR because we see that members tend to enjoy the data and the package that they put together inside of RPR more.
And I will say, in the future, very near future, they're redoing this entire CMA package. When we were at their user summit, we saw the new version, and it's very, very impressive.
Yeah.
So you literally could start in Matrix and end
And
in
in
Matrix as well.
Yeah.
And that's coming up. It'll be probably rolled out, and don't hold me to this, and don't send me any hate mail, but I think
Before the end
of the year.
Yeah.
Before the year. So it was impressive.
But for the meantime, for those of you that enjoy RPR more, we start in Matrix again because the data that's inside Matrix, it's hyper local. We had the ability to filter by direct access for the Gulf, where we wouldn't have that inside of RPR. So we'll go ahead and launch our RPR tool. So you would open up another tab. You would come back to this dashboard if you don't have it favorited. It is right here, top row, and click into here and walk through the CMA process with you guys and show you start to finish with our comps that we've chosen. So to start, you're going to enter in the address of the property that you're working on. And I put it on a little sticky note here because I knew I was going to need it 100 times. And you're going to go ahead and pull up the property here in RPR. So what this is going to do is it's going to show you the entire RPR printout. We've done lots of classes on this in the past on the data that's provided by RPR. You can use RPR for farming. You can use it for 100 different things. So if you want more information on that, head over to the YouTube channel to look at the data provided by RPR. So that's first and foremost, it's going to land you on the printout data page for it, which is great if you're also doing research, right? You need like more information on the property. You don't know enough during your CMA process. Utilize this tab as much as possible. However, their CMA button is now right here at the top. For those of you that have been here for years, they used to have a big CMA button up here. It is now just part of the selection bar up here. So clicking into the CMA portion, it's going to list out several different steps for you on completing this CMA. So we'll walk through these together really quick and show you what your end product is. First and foremost, what it does is it pulls in the public record. And if it's currently listed, it would put in the listing data. It was previously listed, but it's not currently listed, so it's not going to put that. And the reason it does that is for if you're on the buyer's end, right? So we're trying to figure out what should the buyers offer, what's reasonable. It would compare the two of those, and then you can also add in your changes. So maybe they're like, hey, yeah, like Lipa's wrong. It says 3-bedroom, but we've got a 4th bedroom. It was permitted. They haven't, processed it yet. Those are the types of things that you can plug in here as needed. It'll show up in your notes later, showing that you've confirmed that, this is different. And when you're doing your side-by-side comparisons with those comparables that you've chosen, it will display, what public record says and then what you've stated to be true. So for right now, and most of the time, hopefully to make things less complicated for you, we don't have any changes. We're just going to click confirm facts and close. Once you've gone through that, we're going to search for and find comps. So if you have a very basic, simple property, you can use their search out here, certainly, and find your properties out here. If you don't want to start in the MLS, then you can use these searches. But like I said, they don't have the filters for golf access or that hyperlocal data, but maybe you just have, a home in Cape Coral that's on a dry lot. It's a 3-2, it's basic. You can go through the process here, but we're going to go ahead and add known properties. It looks like we have a question. RPR, I looked up a vacant lot and it shows off market, but yet when looking in the MLS, it is active. Any ideas? No, but if you want to drop me that MLS number, I will look into it. Because that's strange. The only thing I can think of is if it's a brand new listing, maybe it hasn't fed yet. But if that's not the case, you can drop me the MLS number and I will look into that for you. All right, so we're going to come back to our list here. And for now, to keep things simple, I know, Jason, you said you like to use like 3 or 4. We're just going to use our 2 for the class here to keep things simple for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So copy and paste, and then we're going to click add. Oh, it looks like California has that same MLS number. Funny. So make sure you choose the right one and you'll see that they'll add here on the list. And then we'll take our other one and we'll add it in here. You can add as many as you need to in here. If you're using 10, good for you. Add them all in here. Typically, like Jason said, you'll have around 4. So you'll get like a good list of properties in here. And the same thing works if you're doing the search. When you pull the search, you'll check off which ones you want to use, and it'll add it to this box on the side. Once you have all of your comparables added in here and selected, you're going to click Update Valuation and close. So all this is doing for right now is adding in the comps. It'll start to populate numbers right away. It'll pull the average. For the price per square foot, it's going to give you that full range. You haven't done anything yet. You'll want to walk through all those other steps, of course. Let me see if we've got one more question. All right, they're going to send us that MLS number. So your next step is adjusting for comps. Clicking into this, you can see it gives you a side-by-side. So you've got your subject property, and then you've got your comparables. If you do have multiple here and it continues on going right, you'll have like a scroll bar at the bottom so that you can scroll through all of them. You can choose which ones you want to show first, which ones you want to show second. So maybe the ones that are closest to your property, you'll want to list those first. The ones that like are not, we included them, but they're not the closest representation of that property. They're not the same apple. Then we're going to put those in the back of the list. You can also decide which record you want it to show. So maybe it sold recently, but then 6 months, investors come in, right? They buy a property, they flip it, they sell it in 6 months, and we want it before it was enhanced and instead of the new one. You can go ahead and decide which data it's going to display, and it'll also disclose if it's like public record or if it's from the MLS, what it's showing. Scrolling through here, you'll be able to see the photos all in comparison if it's been listed in the MLS. But this is everybody's favorite feature inside of RPR. It makes things less complicated. A lot of questions that we get here in the MLS is like, well, one's got a pool and one doesn't. Like, how much money do I put in or take off for an updated kitchen or an extra bedroom? In RPR, they've really simplified it because it's just whether it is the like really close to the comparison or it's not. So you could say that I think when we were looking, this one was closer.
Mhm.
So this is a better comparison. And then, ooh, make sure you let go of it when you click into it. All right. And then we would say, this one's not as close, right? We would move it down. As we move these, you can see based on a percentage scale of how close it is to that property. Is this property better? Is this property worse? It makes those adjustments. So this one was like a little more updated. This one was a little not. You can make those adjustments to those properties without having to apply a specific amount to any kind of updates or differences. Scrolling on down, it's really just showing you side by side the information, what the differences are. So when you're trying to decide on a scale what's worse and what's better, you can use all of these different comparisons here. Roofing, cooling, things like that. Again, it's not going to pull in bedrooms, bathrooms. I mean, it is going to pull in bedroom, bathrooms, but it is not going to pull in waterfront.
Okay.
But you can, of course, include that in your notes here where you can write in here like this one had a pool, this one didn't have a pool, this one's got golf access, but it's not direct. There is a bridge. You can add those notes in there based on what you pulled in the MLS. So based on our adjustments, it is an adjustment of 7,185 from the original average. It took the whole average of the properties and it's saying, well, if yours is a little bit better than that one, we're adding on to that average $7,185. So they've done that math for you and simplified that. And if you feel like that's not doing it justice, I mean, what would you suggest? Somebody saying, well, I've got a really, really special specific property. Do you tell your sellers maybe like at what point do you tell them you need an official appraisal? You need to go out and buy an appraisal.
I mean, I think that's gonna depend on every situation. I mean, I think if they're in a disagreement with you,
Yeah.
getting an independent appraisal is important. I think I see a lot of divorce cases, first a lot of divorce houses and probate's the same thing for, the heirs all want what they want.
Mhm.
And sometimes you're at disagreements, but I think, the nice thing about this slide back scale is not only the pools, because I'd rather adjust for that than use the scale. But where I think this comes in more is I got the updated kitchen, right? I've got the brand new roof. I got the brand new dock. There's things there that you can say, yeah, that brings value.
Mhm.
And is it 1 click, 2 clicks, 3 clicks? I love the idea you can make those adjustments. Because some of this stuff, is there value to some people? Like I said, the fish cleaning station, no value to me, right?
Mhm.
But maybe
It's
value to
taking in
you.
that whole picture. Like overall, it's not just about the fish tank, it's the
It's
property
the whole property
overall.
overall, right?
Mhm.
And again, go back to the fact that you like the pictures in it because pictures do paint that picture of the house and what it was.
Pictures paint a picture.
Pictures paint a picture. It sounds like a country song.
It does. So the second to last step here is the review of the CMA. So it's going to give you like the hard number right there. It's going to give you the range and it's going to break it down, per square feet. We get people who argue all the time, what's more important, the overall price, the price per square foot. It's taking all of that into account for you. And the last step is creating a report. So in here, there are a lot of different reports that you can create. So again, a lot of people use this tool if they are trying to put together an offer idea for a buyer. Right now, we're just focusing on CMAs. So we're going to go into CMA. And it will walk you through and allow you to take a tour of the CMA. But we're going to just X out of that. That's what we're here for. And it gives you a preview down here where you can click through all of the different pages and continue on and on and on forever. So like I said, with these, they can be 80 pages because it will give the full report of every single comparable that you list out. It's going to put in a massive amount of history of the current property that you're looking at. It's going to give them neighborhood details, neighborhood demographics. So if we continue on with this template, it's our class example, continue on. So when you click continue, it will allow you to walk through and decide exactly what pieces you want to keep. Again, for those of you who used to use RPR for years, this was a really complicated process. You had to go into the back end to edit out your pages. Now they've made it all one cohesive dashboard for when you're creating that report. So right now we've only got 23 pages because we only included 2 examples, but those pages tend to multiply the more comparables you put in there. But you can look at and preview what these different pages are, and then you can add them and subtract them. So maybe they don't need like the information, and this is saved based on the last class I did, and it'll save it for you too. So it doesn't keep everything selected, but maybe they don't need all of the information of the property. Like, yeah, they know what their property is. Anything that's been in the neighborhood, market trends, market activity, and this will be based on like the entire market, not just what you selected. They're like doing a market analysis based on their algorithm. And a lot of times, like, we don't like that. We're like, no, that's not right. They just dropped a pin in the middle of nowhere. So you can see I've had that unselected before. You can pick and choose every single one of these pages that you want included in your CMA. It'll display it on the side here so you can see if it's good information, bad information, and what you want to do with it. You can also edit out the cover page for that CMA. Your information can be edited up at the top in your settings. And then you can add in custom pages. So again, this is any kind of branding you have, maybe you have like advice articles on listing property, any kind of fluff that you have can be added in there. And then you can keep your own notes and your photos in here. You can decide which ones they're going to add in from the MLS, from maps. You can, really, really customize and edit this out completely. Anything from, I've seen, the biggest one I think I've seen is like 120 pages. You've got this one down to 24, and it's based on that personality, right? Jason doesn't want all the details. He just wants the small package. I'm the person who's going to analyze every page. Like, give me the 85 pages. Know your customer well before you send them that 85-page document. Once you have it done here, you'll be able to download it, save it for future use, whatever you may need. It's here for you to create that beautiful package to either, send to them ahead of time, mail it to them, show up to your listing appointment, whatever it is that you're doing with them. So I want to point out too, for those of you that might have used the tool before, or if you come back in here, if you ever save it and leave and you come back and you're trying to find your CMAs, you can simply go to the property. And this is one that I've done for a class before. And when I click into the CMA button again, you can see here that all the data is saved. So you can come out here and edit it, right? Maybe they're like, hey, we want to list our property. You do a full CMA for them. They never list. 2 years later, they're like, we're ready to sell now. So you come back out here, you'll see all of the old CMA that you did for them before. And then you'll also be able to edit it up, change it up, and go ahead and create that report for them again. Okay, I don't see any questions in there. So if you have any questions on RPR and how to do that inside of RPR, let us know. We'll hop back to it. I just want to show you guys really quick the third tool that you have available to you for a CMA that is a little bit more simplistic is inside of Remine. Again, top row here, right inside of your dashboard. When you pull this one and open it, I like to think of this one as like also another version of our quick CMA. The address really quick. So this starts just like everything else. We're going to go to the search section and we're going to pull up that address and go ahead and click into that property. And this one is also very easy peasy. We've confirmed that's the property, that's the map layout, lots of data in here if you need it for research as well. But they have a create a CMA button right here inside of Remine. So what you're going to go to is the Remine CMA. If you or your brokerage utilizes Cloud CMA, you can connect your account inside of your settings, which is down here, and plug it in so that you do your research inside of Remine and then go right into Cloud CMA. But if you don't have that, that's okay. You can use the Remine CMA, confirm your property information, and do a search for comparables. Again, this one is a national tool, so it's not going to have things like water frontage, anything like that. Let's say 1960. to 1975. We'll just run a search really quick. So without any kind of accuracy, you can see up here, it's going to run you through, you can choose out your properties. Maybe you want to just find the ones that you already found inside of MLS. So you just made it a little easy for yourself, search those ones out, add them into your CMA, and then you'll walk through the steps. Customized report is just going to allow you to choose which ones are most important and least important. And then it's going to spit you out a quick report as well. This one is, again, not like RPR where there is a lot of editable features. It is what it is. You kind of do get to select your properties, and then it's just going to really kind of spit you out a nice little PDF package for you. But a lot of different tools inside the MLS based on, what you like most, but also what's going to fit your customers' needs the most, what's going to fit that situation best. All right, we are right there almost to noon. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think that, there are these different tools. I think it's
Mhm.
important, you mentioned knowing your customer
Yeah.
and what they're gonna want for details is important. Also think about creative ways to leverage these tools to help yourself stand out. A lot of people do a pre-listing packet, which you could do a down and dirty. With the Remind or the MLS quick CMA, and deliver that or have it delivered to the door as a pre-listing packet with some things that you're gonna want from them. Payoff amounts, things like that. So you can do the seller net sheet. I think being able to add in those documents is important. I know you called it fluff, but there's some value in some of the stuff.
I know that sounds so negative.
But you could have things that you're expecting. Maybe it's your marketing. I saw a flow chart one time of marketing. I thought that was a really creative idea to kind of show the different steps. Look like a board game on, where does the photography come and what do I need to do? All that stuff that's important to you, the 37 steps to get your house prepared for photography, whatever. That's going to be able to have that customization in that, and RPR is included in your dues, so you're not paying additional for it. So I think it's important to, play around with the tools, provide what you're going to provide. You've only got one chance to make a first impression with these sellers. So what you show up with is important, and people are going to, unfortunately, are going to judge you on whether or not they're going to hire you to list a property. And, one thing I learned about when I first started in this industry is nothing is a sure thing. And I went into a presentation with a seller that I was given on a silver platter from this guy's best friend who at the time I was golfing with, and I thought it was a slam dunk. And I didn't show up prepared as I should have been, and didn't do any research on who this guy was, and found out he was a doctor and an analytical guy, and I could give him 200 pages and it wouldn't have been enough. And instead, I showed up with like 12 pages, and I didn't get the listing. So know your customer, know what you're walking into, show up prepared. You've got a lot of tools that are going to give you information about that house. A lot of people struggled, and I did when I got into the business. If I've never been in that house before, how do I know? And maybe you only have the LIPA picture, right?
Yeah.
So that thing that you showed with the appraisal document, that's important. Seeing the floor plan, yeah, it's not a 3D tour. So I think that's important stuff.
Yeah, I think the other thing is too, if you're not comfortable with these tools, if you've never used these tools, or maybe you're brand new in the business, whatever, wherever you lie on that spectrum, it is not a good time to learn how to use these tools when somebody calls up and they're like, "Can you meet me tonight? I want a CMA of my house." Because you are panicking, you are not comfortable, and it will show in your meeting, your appointment, whatever you have. So sit down today, this week, whatever, as soon as you can, use these tools, figure out which one you like, and use your own home. I don't care if you own it. I don't care if you're renting it. That's what you're comfortable with. That's what you know the most about. Run a CMA on your own home. Practice makes perfect, because you don't want to be figuring it out day of when you need a CMA.
Yep. No, absolutely. And I think use the tools to keep in contact with your customer.
Yeah.
They just did another study on the cost of acquiring a client in real estate right now, whether it's a buyer or seller. The cost of that's about $2,200 today. To generate that lead, right? So you do well, however you get the leads, right? But $2,200 to generate that lead. Keeping that lead, keeping that relationship alive, whether or not they buy or sell today, is so important. And if they do buy, giving that annual CMA is going to keep you in contact. And it can't just be that one thing, but it's another thing you can send out. That's so important, because people end up going out of business when their marketing costs are more than what their income is in any business, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to sell 30 deals and every deal costs you $2,200 to get that customer, that's expensive. It's a very big expense. But if I can build a business by referral, then that's good. And I'll leave with one thought. We talked about the CMA. Getting the price right is important. Houses are staying in the market longer. You want to get a price right. They may be in disagreement. You know, I think, role playing is important. People laugh at it, but it's how I got good at a lot of things is by role playing this stuff with somebody in the office. I think role playing is important, but also when you do get the listing, do them justice. We've had conversations about floor plans using Cubicasa. We got some exciting news that come out here in a couple weeks on a new software that we're going to be adding that's going to give you marketing for your property. It's going to be super exciting and exposure. Good stuff coming out, but give that property its due care. We got some great partners that sponsors TechCon that do fantastic photography and drone footage and video. Spend a little bit of money, get that exposure for that house. And that rich media, when it syndicates over to the portals, shoots it right up to the top of the algorithm.
And you're not just doing your seller justice, you're doing you justice because that's your portfolio.
Yep, that's your proof of work. It's like an artist. They pull out their book of things they've done, or photographers. You go get a photographer for a wedding, like, here's the weddings I've done. You're not going to pick the one that's got the finger in the picture of the bride and groom kissing, right? You're not picking that photographer for your wedding. You're not picking that photographer, right? All right. Well, that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, if you guys, start using these tools and you need anything and you, have questions, you're struggling, we're here for you. So you could email us mls@rpcra.org or give us a call. Anyone on the team can help you out through any of these tools. So we thank you guys for joining us today, and we hope to see you next week on MLS Monday.
Thank you.